Right, so welcome everyone. I've got a bit of a different video for you today. So I was kindly gifted one of these puppies. This is the Caveman Audio AP1 Compact. What this truly is a acoustic guitar piezo preamp. It works with mics as well, but this is a preamp that has been tailor designed for piezo acoustic guitars. So just to give you a bit of history of myself, I have been running a studio since I've been about 16. I was working since I've been about 13 years old, saving loads of money and buying gear. Gear is what I love, and I started my own studio on my parents' farm. It was just a small little barn studio with lots of cheap gear just to get you going, but I was working it in a semi-pro fashion, doing cheap recording for all the local people. And I've produced an awful lot of EPs, I think about 35, 40 odd EPs, a couple of albums, a whole bunch of singles, and I've gotten music on BBC Radio 1, I've got it in the top charts, I've got music on Radio 6. I think the best thing that I ever did was got an album into the top 10 in the UK charts. Awesome, like absolutely amazing to work on projects like that. So whenever I see a bit of gear that could be utilised in a studio, I've got that brain on, my studio brain. And this came through and it instantly ticked those boxes. So what Caveman have designed here is basically a product with nothing on it. This button is just a mute switch for tuning. When you plug it in, it is always on, and you've got no controls, no nothing. So it preamps the signal, but it also has some coloration. So anyone that knows Rupert Neve's made some, he was a pioneer in studio technology. He has made a load of different preamps, and basically, Caveman are a little bit, what's the word I'm looking for? A little bit reserved about what's actually going on inside the box. Plus, they've put stickers on saying warranty broken if I take those stickers off. So I'm borrowing this, so I'm not allowed to take the base plate off. If I buy one, I'll probably open it up and show you what's inside, because I'm intrigued. But from what I've gathered, is it's basically a Neve 1073 kind of voiced preamp inside here. That's kind of been structured a bit more for acoustic guitars. So it preamps the signal. I think there's some mild compression that happens. There is some gaining that happens. So when you send a signal out of the DI out, you're getting a very consistent pre-gained signal to either a live mixing desk or your studio. So it works as a DI. It's a tailored voiced preamp that sends a signal into a DI, which is also structured to be perfectly voiced for acoustic guitars. So this is quite an interesting box to me, especially as it's got nothing on it. That interests me quite a lot. I like stuff that you can't control. But it is a stupidly high quality bit of kit. It's really, really cool. When I first plugged this in, I was a bit skeptical. It's just a black box with a logo on the front and one switch which mutes the whole thing. How much of a difference can this properly make? And the only way I can describe it is if you go into the studio, record a track, listen back to it, think that's great, and then you EQ it, compress it, mix it down a bit and go, oh, that is a whole heck of a lot better. This box basically does the mixing for you. So yeah, you just plug in, record, and then that take is done. You might want to match it into the rest of the mix, but it's studio ready sound, mixed ready sound, straight from the recording stage. So in terms of a time save, this is well worth its weight in gold if you are in the studio an awful lot. So these boxes, they're not cheap. They retail for, I think it's $399. It might be a little bit more affordable in the UK, but I think it's about $399 roughly. For this is the AP1 compact. They do a slightly larger one which has a boost on it, so if you need a boost for your lead lines, you can boost up that gain structure. But yeah, basically they're about 400 quid ish. Don't quote me on that, but roughly. And they sound amazing. Like I say, it's a mixed ready sound straight from the get-go. So without making this a massively wild video on the technicalities, I reckon let's just plug it in. The system, the setup that I've got here is I've got an ABY box, which is both on A and B. So I'll put the guitar signal through and you're going to have a dry signal and the Caveman wet signal, preamp signal running simultaneously. So I can just A-B the audio in the video edit, and I'll tell you when it's on and when it's off, and you can hear the difference for yourself. So let's plug it in. I've got it all set up. The gain structure's pretty mad. Let me just get my phone out. So I've tried to match the gain the best I can on the computer, and if you, apologies about the desk, but if you see this, the channel with the XLR, this channel, here's the gain knob, less than half, and then channel 2 with the dry signal is almost maxed out, and that is getting the same amount of gain on GarageBand over here. So yeah, pretty nuts how that gain structure is working. So we've got the Caveman, the icon, the ABY box, and I'm powering it all with the Zeus. So yeah, that gain structure is pretty mad. So I thought I'm going to use the Mason M5 SCE2. This one has the LR Baggs Anthem system, so it's top of the line LR Baggs equipment. Really nice pickup. LR Baggs preamps are also really good, so you're going to hear what a 350 odd quid unit with the preamp in it is going to sound dry, plus going through another 300-400 pound preamp system with the Caveman and DI'd out to a line signal. So this is going to be quite a nice little test, and yeah, I'm just going to hit record up here on GarageBand, and yeah, let's start off just with an A without the Caveman system. And then again with it. Go for E. And again. So I'm not monitoring this myself with headphones or anything because I get a mixed signal, but when I've been playing around with this, you get enhanced dynamics, and also you get this kind of really nice kind of studio feel in the top end. So it does brighten the signal up a little bit, but I feel like it kind of cuts out some unwanted frequencies. There's a lot of unwanted frequencies in acoustic guitars where there's overtones ringing, which kind of start messing with your overall harmonic within the guitar. So generally the better built guitars will have a more tailored overtone structure within the guitar. Just, you know, woods are finely tuned, and the overall sound is really finely tuned. So I feel like these systems work especially well with any dynamic playing. So when you're, say, maybe doing like a, well, finger picking for one, but maybe like a reggae skank, like a. that kind of stuff. That's all quite dynamic, and you get loud peaks and softer peaks, and yeah, these systems work especially well for those kind of dynamic playing. So let's just run through a couple of little things like. And what we have here is basically an extremely high quality preamp and DI box, which is built into a rugged box that you can tour with, you can put in your studio, you can really give it hell, and it's not going to go wrong. They actually feel so confident with this bit of kit that they give you a 10-year warranty. Lots of artists use them, lots of big guys use them, and for good reason. I mean, they sound great, and especially you go out to a gig and the sound guy is always different, the PA is always different, and what you need as a professional musician is a reliable sound that you can just kind of plug in and be happy with almost every time. The gain structure, like I showed you with how I've got to set this preamp, if you need to gain a desk an awful lot, then you end up getting into issues with noise from the gain structure, or needing to EQ the system an awful lot to be able to dial that tone in. If you can send a high gain signal to that desk, it doesn't mean that your pickup's a high gain, it means that you've gained it yourself and you've tailored your tone before it even lands to the desk, then they have a much better chance of just turning the volume up and away you go. So your tone will end up being far more consistent with something like this preamp, or a preamp of some sort. The nice thing about Caveman is it's basically Neve quality stuff. You know, there is EQing happening, there's light compression happening, there is quite a lot of things happening in that box which, you know, it may all be subtle, but as anyone that's had any mixing experience would know, it's better to do multiple things in a subtle sense to get an overall cleaner tone than it is to have like one or two EQs that are doing all the heavy lifting and one compressor doing all the heavy lifting. You end up pushing that one compression or that one EQ way too far, and it always ends up, you know, you're going back on yourself quite a lot. Whereas if you have 5 or 6 EQs doing some small light EQing, you end up with a far better result by the end of the day. That's a mixing tip. If you are recording your own music, don't do it all on one EQ plugin. Have one that cuts a little bit off the bass, have one which cuts a little bit off the mids, have one which refines the top end, all on separate EQs, all on bus channels. You'll thank me later. It's a golden tip. Same with compression. Do small compression and a couple of them, and it will be much more effective than using one hard compression. So yeah, mixing tip there. if you're in that world. And yeah, this is something that I've spent an awful lot of time on, many hours, especially over lockdown. I was recording an awful lot, so I'm well past 1,000 hours. I think I'm probably a couple of thousand hours in, maybe not quite 10,000 hours yet, but I'm definitely, you know, 4,000 or 5,000 hours in on mixing and mastering and that kind of studio work. And there's a part of me that's like, I wish I had a Caveman way before when I was recording my own stuff, because it just makes that life so much smoother, so much simpler, and yeah, it's doing all the subtleties that you want a mix track to be doing for you before it's even recorded. And also is pushing your audio interface a lot less, because to be honest with you, a lot, like even Focusrite and stuff like that, a lot of these more budget audio interfaces, their gain structure's crap. They add a lot of noise to your signal chain, and especially ones that are powered with USB. If you need to gain a channel a lot and use phantom power, then it can't get that power from USB. So it actually adds sag to your tone and will reduce a lot of the top end, and will give you latency issues and all kinds of issues. So if you're, you know, using like a 4-channel, you know, 4i2 Focusrite, and you've got phantom power on the go, you've got your guitar on the go, everything's gained up like really high, then you're gonna get into issues. And even if it seems like it records fine, as soon as you plug a preamp in, turn that gain down, because you're gonna need to, it's a high gain output, then suddenly, bam, you know, night and day difference just by turning the gain down. So yeah, properly gain your signal tracks, use mixing tip, use a couple of different EQs, a couple of different compressions, and use them lightly to tailor the tone, or get yourself a Caveman. It's as simple as that. Get yourself a Caveman, it pretty much does it all for you. Yeah, nice and simple. Let's have another little, I don't know what to play, but I'm going to play anyway. cool. Get yourselves a Caveman, guys. You're not going to regret it. I think I'm going to have to. It's on my new acoustic rig, I reckon.